चैंपियन बनने का एक फंडा, रोज खाओ अंडा।
My journey of insurance and investments began at the same time when I invested in LIC SEEP. In this fast-moving world, SEEP can balance your funds with security and growth. SEEP will take care of the ups and downs of the market and will give you fruitful results so that you enjoy the ride. And when SEEP is with you, you can soar high.
LIC's unit-linked insurance plan SEEP offers savings and protection so that you can soar high in your life. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Well, there can never be too much of business. And when it comes to women-led businesses, we fall frighteningly short. The ambitious Startup India program, the initiative that has been launched by the government, has failed to attract women entrepreneurs. Only 43% of the 27,000 plus recognized startups in India had a woman director as of 8th of January. This is, of course, according to the Economic Survey of 2019-2020. Women's representation remains low, even in the states that, according to the survey, have done well, and they have been top performers in terms of recognized startups, which includes Delhi, Maharashtra and Karnataka. Also, in the Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2019, India ranked 52 out of the 57 surveyed countries. And what's worse, according to Innovan Capital, a venture debt and lending platform, the number of funded startups with at least one female co-founder declined from 17% in 2018 to 12% in 2019. I caught up with some of the most high-performing startup founders in India to talk to them about the challenges of starting up, the preconceived notions that women have to encounter, and what can women do to step up to the challenge. Please welcome Kanika Tekriwal, founder and CEO of Jet Set Go, Anisha Singh, founder of She Capital, and Megha Asher, co-founder of Juicy Chemistry. Hello and a very warm welcome to the India Today Women's Summit, the first virtual summit that we are doing. Of course, during the pandemic, we cannot say that the pandemic is behind us, but the pandemic has shown us that there are different ways of doing things, right? And to talk about the startup universe, to talk about how that might have evolved, especially for women entrepreneurs, we have with us Megha Asher from Juicy Chemistry, Anisha Singh of She Capital, and Kanika Tekriwal of Jet Set Go. Three women entrepreneurs. All of them have are trailblazers in their own right. So let me begin with you, Anisha. You have launched a fund to bankroll, to fund women-run and women-owned businesses. Tell me, how are you viewing the post-COVID space when it comes to women entrepreneurship?
I think it's exciting. I mean, there is no other way to describe it. Yes, the numbers are dismal, and you're seeing that employability and everything of women has actually gone down. But I think as far as entrepreneurship is concerned, we'll see a bounce back where, as an investor, I'm seeing a rectification in valuations, which I like. Apart from that, we're actually seeing very, very interesting models come through where I think entrepreneurs in India, especially female entrepreneurs, were thinking only like this. And then COVID just changed it and made it all up and down. And so we're seeing very interesting hybrid models come through. And a lot of them have actually spiked during COVID and managed to add a lot to their bottom line during COVID. So I, for one, am very optimistic about where this is headed for the entrepreneurial ecosystem for women entrepreneurs. I sincerely believe we're on track. We saw a lot of female-led unicorns come through in the US in the last couple of years. Bumble did it right now, IPO'd. I think we're on track to start seeing that in India in the next 3-4 years for sure. I mean, Nika's doing it right now, but you're going to see more of that come through.
So lovely to hear that. Very, very encouraging. Megha, you've just raised a round of funding. Just take us through your experience. You've, of course, built this with your husband, right? So do you think, I mean, in terms of the challenges that you came across, you're in an organic health, skincare, cosmetic brand. Anything specific that you've learned in your journey of fundraising that you feel that people can benefit from? Any lessons that you've learned?
In my experience, both when we raised the angel round and the Series A round, the most important factor that the investors look in is the founders. They are, wanting to associate more with the founders, their philosophy, and even from the founder's point of view, we need to ensure that the partner you're selecting is the right one. A simple example, in the last 3 months, we would have been approached by almost all the top VC companies in the country at the moment. And, everybody had some tips to share where we could change our model. We could, become a mass stage brand. There were concerns about how will you create wider market because it's a very niche product. But we chose to have a partner that had faith in what we as founders were standing for. We did not waver at all from our philosophy. We were very clear about what we wanted to do. During the entire journey, while Pritesh was actively handling the entire fundraise, I went in for a few meetings where they wanted to talk about my ideologies because I was the one who set up the entire role for Juicy Chemistry and what we chose to do as a brand. And today, after 7 years, because we were bootstrapped for such a long period of time, we are still the only certified organic skincare brand in the country. And that is what the VCs were looking at. They wanted to ensure that we didn't want to change our path at any stage. So I feel for any entrepreneur, as long as you're holding on to your ethos, you're holding on to your brand story, that is the most important factor.
Okay. Kanika, you started out when you were in your early 20s, astonishingly young, right? And you were talking to the who's who from the government or from the corporate world. You're in the business of leasing out jets. So just take us through that bit, right? Like, what is it for a young girl to start out into a territory which has largely been dominated by men?
So, Shweta, I'll never forget the first sales pitch I ever went to do. I walked into this person's office, a very, very big corporate based out of India, an MNC rather. And I was the last person to walk in. And the person we'd gone to pitch to, turns around and says, "Excuse me, miss, can you please ask everyone whether they want tea or coffee?" And he assumed I was probably an assistant or someone working in his office. And there went all my self-confidence. There went my whole pitch that I'd made in my head, etc., etc. I wanted to cry. I was really young. And, I could feel tears almost coming out of my eyes. And it took all my courage to keep my stuff together and actually walk in there, tell him that I'm going to do this. And, he was obviously embarrassed, and he turned around and said, "Are you sure you want to do planes? Are you sure you know what it takes to run planes? Do you want to maybe not get into something more easy like baking or, you can even do catering on aircrafts and stuff like that." It took a lot to actually turn that whole conversation in my favor. By the end of it, he's our biggest champion now. He's helped me grow the business. He's got more customers on board, etc. So, if I look back at that, it's never been easy. But, I also think there's been a huge advantage towards it that people have trusted me more easily. It's been easier to open doors in terms of just go there and say, "Look, I'm trying to do this. I may fail." I think you're so honest and gullible when you're young that, you go in there with all your innocence trying to think where you think you can change the world. And you go in there with all your honesty and integrity intact. And that's actually worked in our favor. It's been up to us to turn our disadvantages into advantages, right? I have no complaints. I think it was hard initially, but over a period of time, if anything, it's become much easier.
Anisha, when you interview or when you meet women founders who are potential candidates for investment, typically what are the challenges that you feel that they need to overcome when they're pitching a business? What are the key things that you notice are very quintessential to women owned and women run businesses? And I'm talking about the negatives here, and then we'll come to the positives.
I think the first and foremost, and this is my biggest irk, and I've also done it, so I'm also guilty of this when I run my Dala, is if a woman walks in with a guy, 100% guaranteed, it is likely the guy who is going to talk numbers. 100%, which I don't understand. Business tumhara, but or if it's a couple, and I've done it too, right? My co-founder would talk numbers, right? But the fact of the matter is, I was the CEO. And so at some point, I stopped the conversation and I'll always ask the female founder, Can you run me through the numbers? Because, at the end of the day, it's really, really important to know that that founder understands numbers. You might not be talking them, but you understand them. And if you don't, and you can't see the scale and you can't see the growth, and you've got someone else who's doing that, then there's a problem. I think that imposter syndrome is too much when it comes to us. Shweta, you and I have talked about it, and I also am very guilty of this. That confidence level, I think we just need to have it out there. Guys have no issues. Women will always second guess, themselves all the time in terms of scale, especially if you ask them, can you see the scale? The scale will be minimal compared to the guys.
Megha, let me ask you this. When you go and make a presentation, who talks the numbers? Is it you or is it your husband?
I'm guilty
Be
of what Anisha, but no. Like I said, I'm guilty of what Anisha just said. But I do know the numbers. It's just that we've always, split our roles in the company to maintain sanctity. So there are different sections within the company we handle, but I do know the numbers. I don't depend on him, but yes, he talks the numbers.
Okay, Kanika, you?
And I'll be very honest with you, I didn't know what a pitch deck was. I didn't know what VC funding was. The first time when someone came in to invest, I was like, why should I take your money? Why do I need your money? Why should I give you my company? And, he actually was a customer and he was kind enough to say, tell me what you think your company is worth. I just want to be part of your story. I told him the most obnoxious number that came to my head because I didn't believe in it. I thought it was all a hoax. This was like in 2012, when the world of funding and VCs and startups was all like this. And I told him a really, really ridiculous number and he agreed to it and he wrote me a check. And we actually signed the papers, the term sheet and all the documents a year after he gave me the money because, it was all done on trust and faith. And then I sat and taught myself this whole game of, P&L and balance sheet. And I mean, now I can read a P&L better than most investment bankers, I think, and I can tear it to shreds. But, I'm the one who calls the shots on the numbers. That's the only thing that I'm obsessed with. I start my day going through MISs, seeing what we can change, what we can do. And I go to bed doing that. And, I think, like Anisha said, I've seen this so often that even when if a wife books a plane with us, a very simple example, if someone's wife is booking the plane with us, she'll make the husband call to negotiate. And I actually told someone yesterday, as early as yesterday, I said, listen, if you sit and negotiate with me, you're going to get a better deal than your husband, woman to woman. Tell me who's doing it now. And she laughed. But I see in my own office, I don't see employees asking for raises, women employees asking for raises, women employees asking for what is due to them. I've had women feeling bad about asking for leave that is due to them, while the men come and demand for raises, even if they don't deserve it. So, I think talking about money for some reason in our world or asking for what is due to us is considered a taboo. And whatever said and done, even today, I see it happen on a daily basis.
बच्चों का बचपन मुस्काए, अंडा बच्चों के मन भाए, कुदरत का वरदान है।
चैंपियन बनने का एक फंडा, रोज खाओ अंडा।
गाइस, कल मेरी नई बाइक आ रही है।
ग्रेट, तब तो आई विल कम विद रोहन एवरी डे।
इंश्योरेंस है?
तुझे क्या लगता है? इंश्योरेंस, पीयूसी सब कुछ है।
आई वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट लाइफ इंश्योरेंस फॉर सिया।
जोक्स अपार्ट गाइस, बट आज मजा कल सजा नहीं होनी चाहिए।
सीरियसली, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस तो जरूरी है।
LIC का न्यू जीवन आनंद देता है डबल फायदा। मैच्योरिटी पे मिले फुल पेमेंट और लाइफ कवर चले जिंदगी भर।
ए हेलो, इंश्योरेंस है क्या?
I want to talk about how this post-COVID world changes things in our favor, because we've learned new ways of working. We, the mark across industries, a lot of business models have been disrupted. So, how does this post COVID world shape up for women entrepreneurs? Anisha, you started on a very optimistic note. You're very hopeful. I want you to dive deeper into that. How are you looking at the kind of businesses that might come about? What are the kind of ideas that are being pitched to you? And, how many of them are really led by women? And have we changed the way we think about running and, starting up, running a business?
So I'll talk about two aspects. Okay, apart from the fact that She Capital is a venture fund, we also actively, I actively mentor women. But the whole goal behind this was to actually change the landscape of entrepreneurship for women, right, and make it more let women get to a certain scale. So I'll tell you one thing that I think post-COVID world has changed. One of the biggest issues that women came, and expressed was networking. They used to find networking overwhelming, right? And the offline network and, post-event, drinks and everything. I think COVID's changed that, right? Now we're all comfortable with Zoom to a large extent, and everybody's networking or talking the same way. So in a way that's leveled out. I think it's interesting. So we obviously have a lot of women coming to us by way of the name itself, She Capital. We're seeing some really interesting models come through. That is why we're so optimistic. I had put out a post on social media, I think in December, asking, tell us just innovative companies in the last couple of years that have come through. And we had over 600 plus responses, out of which some were so phenomenal that we ended up doing a project called 21 for 2021 around it. And this included everything from people trying makeup virtually, jewelry virtually, just sitting at home, to women now building out fintech models that let women invest, and in a really methodical way. So very, very amazing, impressive stuff coming through, and we're excited to see where this heads. Suddenly, the beauty of seeing more women entrepreneurs is you're seeing a lot more stuff happen around women. Similarly, you're seeing women doing stuff for women investing, into SIPs, funds, helping them actually get more knowledgeable, which I think is very cool, So very, very interesting stuff. We're excited for where this heads for the ecosystem.
Fabulous. Megha, I want to ask you, any lessons that you've learned, in running and managing a startup that you'd like to share?
For me, the biggest learning curve was the fact that right from the start, right, from cleaning the bartan to doing everything from scratch, we've done it together. Like, we've done it in a manner where when we were talking to an investor, they knew we knew our business. It wasn't like, I was commissioning somebody to do a white labeling job for me, and I had no clue about the ingredients. I had no clue about the formulations. And that's one of the things the VCs were super impressed with, that they're like, are you sitting with an encyclopedia in front of you? Because we knew ingredients inside out. We knew the profiles. We knew every stage of the business, because when we started, we were doing all of it by ourselves, be it dispatch, be it logistics, managing customer service. I had done all those jobs at Juicy Chemistry. So when I was training a person also, I exactly knew what value to impart to the staff who came in. So that was the biggest learning.
And knowing your business in and out is the number one. Kanika, what's your advice for women wanting to start out and set up their own businesses? Yeah.
I think for that, my biggest lesson has been there's no better time than now. And, in this digital world that we're living in, where Zoom is the new private jet, literally, the whole world is available on your fingertips to do what you feel like and how you feel like. We've all learned to live a new normal. We reinvented a lot during COVID. And, we've learned how to dispatch planes with 1/3 the manpower that we used to use earlier. And if we could do it as such a brick and mortar company, I think it's very easily possible to, turn your dreams into reality, make things happen. The cost of doing business has reduced. I've had 4 of my friends who had employees of 500 plus shut down offices completely and move to 10 office spaces. You don't need to spend money on travel. You don't need to spend money on real estate. So I think overall the cost of doing business is reduced so much that it's the best time to take chances. It's the best time to take risks. And ultimately it's up to us to convert every adversity into opportunity, right? Everyone calls me an optimist, but I think if you can use this to your favor right now, there's no better time to start up than now.
Okay, Anisha, what does it take for a startup to sustain, to reach a stage when they actually come to you for funding?
I think to be realistic, first of all, don't be in the business of raising funding. I say this because I think a lot of people, when they start only, वो पहले से plan कर रहे थे, series A, B, C, was focus on the business, the numbers, the nitty gritty, as Megha said. So I'll talk about, I think that's the main thing. I will say one thing, which I think is more important because we're sitting on this panel. I think, alone we might go faster, but together we'll go further. And I really do believe this. And I think it's so important for women to realize that now is the time that we hold each other's hand and kind of bring each other up. And there's no age or qualification bar on this. I think if we can just be nice to each other and have that kind of sisterhood, I think we will be fine as an ecosystem, all of us. The guys have done plenty for us. We need to do it together now.
Thank you very much. And here's hoping for a super productive 2021. Thank you.